Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take some time today to present you with another word of encouragement. Well, now that Iran has officially entered into a war with Israel, we can be certain that it's only a matter of time until the IDF responds to the nation that has been waging a proxy war against Israel for many years now. Well, it's true that the IDF successfully defended the people of Israel against the onslaught of Iranian drones and missiles. Well, it's also true that the state of Israel is preparing now to respond to Iran. As a matter of fact, it was just yesterday, that's when an emergency meeting of the UN's Security Council took place, and that's when Israel's ambassador to the UN declared this, and I quote, "We are surrounded by Iran's terror proxies. This attack crossed every red line, and Israel reserves every right to retaliate." That's right, and while most Western leaders, including President Biden, have urged Benjamin Netanyahu to show some restraint here, one spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces said that the country's war cabinet has already approved both offensive and defensive operations. Now, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also spoke up during that emergency meeting yesterday and urged restraint by declaring, "Now is the time to diffuse and de-escalate." Okay, so now is the time. Now is the time to de-escalate. And not Friday? Not Friday night, just before the Sabbath, when Iran decided that they're going to start launching a drone strike against the state of Israel? Gutierrez also insisted that neither the region nor the world can afford more war. Classic, just classic UN nonsense. They love to sit on their hands and be silent as Iran uses Hamas and Hezbollah to attack Israel, but then they immediately preach restraint the very second Israel gears up to respond. And not only that, but they also demonize Israel for targeting the terrorists who have promised to wipe the state of Israel from the face of the map. Now, according to the reports, it was just yesterday when President Biden told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the U.S. will not aid any Israeli counterattack against Iran. And according to Axios, Biden actually told Netanyahu the U.S. will actually oppose any Israeli counterattack. So if I understand this correctly, Biden is ready to oppose the state of Israel if the IDF decides to retaliate against Iran? And listen, if that's not bad enough, there are also reports coming from Israel and from Turkey that the Biden administration actually provided guidance to Iran in its missile and drone strike against Israel. As a matter of fact, there's a Turkish diplomatic source who just informed Reuters that Iran informed Turkey in advance about their planned operation against Israel. And not only that, but the same anonymous source also added that Turkey's foreign minister spoke both to his U.S. and Iranian counterparts in the past week, in order to discuss Iran's plans to attack the state of Israel. And according to that anonymous Turkish source, the U.S. actually instructed Iran to keep their operation within certain limits. Now, I can't tell you if that anonymous Turkish source is telling us the truth, but here's what we can say for sure. We know for a fact that President Biden has effectively gifted Iran $80 billion since he was installed into the White House. This includes the $10 billion in funds that Biden extended in the form of sanctions waivers just last November. And in this way, the Biden administration is effectively funding Iran's military operations. According to one report, Iran supports Hezbollah with $700 million every single year. And not only that, but they also support many other Palestinian groups, including Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And they do this by providing them with at least $100 million annually. So just think about that for a second. When Biden provides Iran with access to upwards of $80 billion within 3 years' time, well, you better believe that he's effectively funding Iran's proxy war against Israel. Not only that, but remember, Biden has already assured Netanyahu that the U.S. will oppose Israel's retaliation against Iran's attack last Saturday. Now, with all this in mind, I have no reason to think that the anonymous source from Turkey was lying to us. I have no reason to think that the anonymous source from Turkey is lying. And with that being the case, every American needs to realize that our nation is currently under the federal headship of a man who promises to stand with Israel while simultaneously funding Iran, who then turns around and arms and empowers the terrorists and groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. And now that Iran has officially stepped out from the shadows and entered into this war, it's time for the U.S. to realize that we've not only failed to stand with Israel, but we've also been supporting those who love to chant death to Israel and death to America. For example, it was just last week in Dearborn, Michigan. That's when a group of activists celebrated International Al-Quds Day. And they did this by chanting death to America and death to Israel. 4 days later, Iran attacked Israel with drones and missiles, and thankfully, Iran knows how to put the miss in missiles, and as a result, they failed in all of their attacks. And while it's true that the state of Israel does an excellent job protecting their own borders, well, the Biden administration has effectively been allowing terrorists to cross our southern border, and for the past 3 years. That's right, for the past 3 years, more than 7 million migrants have illegally crossed into the U.S. over the southern border. And listen, this is just the number of illegal immigrants who were processed. We have no clue about those who are sneaking in undetected as our Border Patrol is distracted by the overwhelming number of people who keep crossing our border in caravans. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact that the Biden administration has been flying them in on commercial airline flights. As a matter of fact, it was just last Thursday. That's when Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, he joined together with a group of 20 state attorneys general as they launched a new effort to stop the Biden administration from continuing to fly hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens from crime-plagued nations directly into cities across the United States. Yeah, that's what they've been doing. That's what they've been doing for quite some time now. And so AG Paxton, he shared his concerns by declaring, and I quote here, "The Biden open borders agenda has created a humanitarian crisis that is increasing crime and violence in our streets, overwhelming local communities, and worsening the opioid crisis." That's right. He's exactly right. And what's even worse is that Biden's border policies have created the conditions by which anti-American terrorists have been able to sneak into our country. And I have no doubt that it's only a matter of time before those who chant death to America attack the USA from within, as part of the Build Back Better initiative, of course. With all this in mind, we shouldn't be surprised to learn that Saturday night's attack on Israel, it resulted in a nationwide surge of panic searching as Americans jumped online and went to their favorite search engines and just started asking questions about World War III and other related searches. For example, many wanted to know about the draft age. They wanted to know if they can be drafted. And many are asking about World War III. The search for World War III had hit a 5-year high. Well, listen, rather than looking to Google or some other search engine for answers about the end of the world, I encourage you to search the scriptures because the Lord has already revealed in his holy word the events which will take place just before the second coming of Jesus Christ. And yes, this includes the anti-Israeli military confederation, which is going to involve Iran, Russia, Turkey, Libya, and a few others. Now, I can't tell you if we're currently watching the beginning of this battle, which is described there in Ezekiel chapter 38. It certainly looks that way. And listen, if an Iranian missile happens to destroy the Dome of the Rock there on Temple Mount, well, I can assure you that the state of Israel will see this as a perfect opportunity to build the third temple. And so I have no doubt that we're about to watch this all unfold. And as we continue to watch all this unfold right before our very eyes, I encourage every Christian to realize that anxious people are looking for answers. Anxious people are looking for answers. Therefore, we need to be ready to lead them to the one book that can help them to discover God's perfect plan for dealing with the problem of evil, which will culminate in the Battle of Armageddon. So listen, rather than worrying about these wars and rather than worrying about the rumors of wars that are currently taking place, let's instead look for every opportunity to present people with the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And as we lead people to the Lord Jesus Christ, we can rejoice in knowing that he's going to help us to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.